If you're a fan of the TV show Outlander, and let's face it, if you're not, should you even be here, then you'll no doubt have seen the beautiful hand-fasting ceremony between Jamie and Claire that took place in Glencorse Old Kirk. Hand-fasting is one of the most beautiful, romantic and popular of the wedding rituals. And that's because it's one of the most ancient Celtic traditions. So what's it all about? Well, if we go back to medieval Scotland, when a couple wanted to be established as, being a married couple within their community, they wouldn't go off and have a big fancy venue type wedding. They would instead each take a piece of cloth to represent their own kin, their own clans, and they would go to an outside destination, just like this one, under a beautiful big tree, with the clan chief or the father or eldest brother of the bride, and they would have their hands bound together to symbolise the joining not just of two people, but two lives, two hearts, two souls, and two clans, because again, if we go back centuries ago in Scotland, when marriages were very often political, when two people came together, two clans came together. Of course, this ritual has been adapted for modern times, but it's still very, very beautiful. And as I said right at the start, it creates a connection to the past and to all those from your ancestral lineage who have come before. So a wee bit of the kind of practicalities. What should you use? What ribbons or material should you use for your hand fasting? Well, that is completely up to you. I offer Harris hand fastings, which just mean that I use Harris tweed for your hand fasting ribbons. Now, again, Harris tweed comes from the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. It's still woven at home by the islanders there, so there's story behind it, there's depth behind it, there's this beautiful energy behind it. Again, it's been blessed by me in ritual. So for me, it's a really meaningful cloth to have in your ceremony, but you are also more than welcome to bring your own. Just make sure that it has story behind it or has depth in it. So a piece of material that belonged to your granny, or was taken from your mum's wedding dress, absolutely spot on. Material made from your family tartan, absolutely spot on. As long as it has some sort of link to you and your story. In other words, don't just go to Amazon, buy some fancy ribbons and have them turn up the day before. If you're going to do that, if you fall in love with something on Amazon, then make sure you get it in plenty of time, have it sitting in the space where you live and you love and you laugh, and let it be imbued by, this magic between the two of you. How many ribbons should you use for your hand fasting? There's no right or wrong here. Don't listen to anybody that says there has to be a certain amount of ribbons. It's completely up to you. 2 is really nice because, as I said a minute ago, we take one piece to represent one kin and another piece to represent the other person's kin, and they're tied together. But you may well want to include other members of your family, and so sometimes we can have 6 hand fasting ribbons or 9 hand fasting ribbons, and we'd have people come forward and almost gift the ribbon and the symbology of the ribbon to the couple. Because let's talk about the symbology behind hand fastings. Right at the start of this video, I spoke about how these rituals give form to these abstract concepts of unity and love and trust and commitment. And so whenever we perform a hand fasting ceremony, we're not just tying two hands together with a piece of cloth. There's obviously much, much more going on there. At a conscious level, of course, we can see two people having their hands bound together. But at an unconscious level, at a soul level, we know that there's something much deeper happening between these two people. I always think if we could see it just in energy form, we would see the two souls come together and become intertwined in a way that can never be separated. So, very beautiful ritual, as I say, one of the most popular and probably my very, very favourite out of all the rituals. So how might it look in ceremony? Well, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways. I like things in ceremony that are not too contrived, so you'll know if you're working with me that a lot of this is done in the moment. It's not pre-scripted. We just on the day work with the energy that's in your ceremony space or is in the room. Because if I've written your ceremony 4 weeks previous or 6 weeks previous, then I haven't written it in the moment of your ceremony. And so there needs to be some fluidity, some flexibility on the day of your ceremony, just to work with the energies round about you. So I'll show you a few ways that we can use it, and then you can, when you get in touch, can tell me which ones you like best. So, can I ask you both to take your left hands, please? So I place a ribbon to represent Jean's kin. I place a ribbon to represent Gay's kin. Now, I've placed those ribbons, but it may well be that it's your guests that come up and place them. If that's the case, what I would normally do is before your ceremony even begins, I would give the handfasting ribbons to whoever's going to take part, and I would ask them to sit with those ribbons and to hold those ribbons and to think about everything that they hope for the couple's life together, and to let that be, imbued within the fabric. But if you don't want your guests to be involved, or your guests don't want to be involved, then I'm more than happy to do that for you. Now, there's a difference here between handfast and hand tying. Handfasting is where just a piece of cloth would be wrapped around the hands. And I believe that traditionally that's how it would have been done. There's nothing I can see in any of the literature that talks about a knot being tied. That's a modern adaptation of the handfasting, and there's nothing wrong with it, it's absolutely beautiful. But if we're talking about handfasting in its purest sense, we're just talking about taking this cloth and wrapping it round the hands, and then saying some words that indicate the coming together of two people. If you watch William and Kate's wedding, you can see them being handfast, but it's where the stole, the minister takes the stole and places it around their hands, says a few words, and then releases it again. So if you watch some wedding ceremonies, church wedding ceremonies, you can see that happening. So you could be handfast just like that, and then I would hold the cloth and you would just be asked to remove your hands. Can you just remove your hands? And you have the cloth, it's not tied or a knot or anything, so it would just stay like that and you would keep it like that. So that's handfasting in its truest form, but there's other ways we can do it. So let's try that again. Again, we're going to place a ribbon to represent Jean's kin, and then we're going to place a ribbon to represent Gay's kin. And I'm going to ask you to look at each other. I'm just going to turn it around, or place it around just once. I'm going to bend it over and feed it through. So in this case, the couple are going to tie the knot, but it's not, I don't think it's too contrived. We'll see in a minute one that's just a wee bit more complicated. So when it comes to this part, what I would usually do is ask the couple to place their right hands on top of the fabric and just to look at each other. But as they're looking at each other, to feel their hands, both touching each other and sitting on the fabric. Just look at each other. Gay and Jean, know that embedded within this fabric are the hopes and dreams that you each have for your life together as a married couple, but also the hopes and dreams that we, your family and friends, all hold for your lives together. Please, at the same time, and as you look at each other, repeat after me. As I give you my hand,
as I give you my hand,
so I give you my heart.
so I give you my heart.
As I lay my hand in yours,
As I lay my hand on yours,
so I lay my dreams
so I lay my dreams
in your keeping.
in your keeping.
As my hand is bound with yours,
As my hand is bound with yours,
so is my life.
so is my life.
Today,
Today,
tomorrow,
tomorrow,
and all our days to come.
and all our days to come.
Or if we're going to say it in Scots, the day,
The day,
the morra,
the morra,
and all your days to come.
and all your days to come.
Can I ask you, Gay, to take that with your right hand? Can I ask you to take that with your right hand? In a moment, I'm going to step back and ask if you're ready to tie the knot. I want you to look at each other as you do this and just step back, release your hands and pull it into a knot. They were a wee bit quicker than waiting for me to say, are you ready to tie the knot? But there you go. So that's how it's done. And the idea there is that that knot stays tied. You never undo it, and you can frame it, you can keep it in a box, and you can also, can you just hold it when you pulled it out there, you can also take both ends and hold it up for the photographer. Hold it up that way and you can get a nice photo of your hand fasten. I'm going to show you another way that you can do that. This is a wee bit more complex, a wee bit more contrived. It's my least favourite of doing the hand fastings because no, you're not going to just you're not going to hold left hands for this one. Some couples will like this and you might like it, and if you like it and you want it, you tell me. But just every time I see it, I just think of, going back centuries ago, being out in the Glencoe Valley with some clan chief conducting your wedding and him going, can you put your hands like this? Can you put your hands like that? Okay, smile for the camera. Doesn't quite work for me, but let's see what it looks like. So I'm going to ask you to put your hands out, palms up. You put your hands out on top, just the same. Okay, that's it. Keep them nice and straight. So I'm going to put that in there for you, okay? You're going to put that under your thumb. Keep that nice and tight. And then in a moment, I'm going to ask you to step back and pull it into a knot. So you can see what I mean, but it's a wee bit contrived. I like everything to be kind of really natural and no much effort in it. So this one, just a wee bit too much for me. But see what you think. Okay, are you ready to tie the knot, ladies? Step back. And then you can hold it up and you can have it. So those are just 3 different ways in which you can tie the knot. In all honesty, there's lots of different ways, and as I say, I usually just work in the moment with the energy of the day, and that's when we decide what would work best for your ceremony. But if you've seen anything here that you particularly like, then just let me know and we can absolutely get that sorted for you. So that's hand fasting.